Well, welcome to this lecture where we're going to talk about why you should take a course on first aid for rural and remote areas. There are a number of reasons, whether you are living in an area, whether you're a hiker or a camper or a boater, climber, backpacker, country hunter, or somebody who just wants to be prepared in an emergency. You want a course like this because it provides you with valuable information, much more in-depth information than you would have taking a simple basic first aid CPR course. In courses like this, we give you information on how to do things and beyond the basics, how to make assessments, how to handle different situations and to deal with injured persons in different environments. The information that you will get here is substantial enough that you will be moving on your way toward the next level, which is that of a responder. But let's take a look at some of the areas that you might be concerned with in taking a course like this. In doing boating, there are a number of instances where you may find yourself in a situation where you are far from landfall. The Coast Guard does not have easy access to you, where you may want or you may have to deal with someone who's injured, whether that is CPR or whether that is somebody who has simply cut themselves and has a wound of some type, or somebody who's become sick for any other number of reasons. This type of course will help you be prepared to stabilize that person, how to contact the appropriate authorities, and what information you need to have together, put together, so that when you contact them, you can give it to them so they will know what is going on. So even if you're a boater, this is a course that is very useful for you. Now, hikers, on the other hand, will find this course very useful because hiking, you can often find yourself out. You may be in unfamiliar terrain with unfamiliar footing. If that is the case, you may find yourself having to deal with certain types of injuries. Most commonly with hikers, you're going to be dealing with things like sprains, dislocations and things like that as people try to move through the cross-country terrain. Not every hiking trail is like a paved sidewalk. They can be somewhat challenging. And courses like this will give you the information on how to deal with that particular type of injury. It also prepares you for the hike itself and being in the remote area so that you'll know what equipment and what material to take with you so that if something does happen, somebody gets injured, you are then prepared to deal with that eventuality. Now, here in Washington State, we have a lot of skiing. We're one of those areas of the United States where we have a lot of snow and mountain areas where people can engage in backcountry skiing. It is important in this context to have a course like this so that you will know what to do if something does happen. Backcountry areas will often be in remote or very rural areas where there may be very limited access to emergency medical facilities. And a course like this will help you to understand how to make the assessment and make that determination about whether or not you want to contact emergency resources and have them incur a lot of expense coming in to get you, and be sure that it is for an important reason if you're going to do that. So particularly if you're going to do things like backcountry skiing or be in exceptionally remote areas, you need a course like this. And finally, we want to look at remote locations. As our society has grown, we find more and more people who find it convenient to live in very remote locations. In some cases, these are areas where there are very few, perhaps no people. So there will be very limited access to medical resources. And here you need a course like this so you will understand what types of medical facility, what type of medical kit you need to put together so that you're prepared for that type of eventuality, what type of resources you need to have in place in case there isn't a medical emergency. No one's health is perfect. No one can go to a remote location and expect to be there without having any types of problems at all. So a course like this is necessary to help you understand what you need to do to be prepared to live in that wonderful, pristine environment, rural environment that you've chosen to live in. Now, one of the reasons for taking a course like this, and we emphasize it, is that if you choose to be in a rural area, you have made a choice. It doesn't necessarily mean that the people who live in that, who are in that area around you, have agreed to pick up the cost of your errors. So you want to be aware of things that getting somebody to come to rescue you in a remote location can have certain costs. We list some of the types of insurance that you can purchase here in the French Alps. You can buy your own visitor type of insurance so that they have to come and get you. The cost is picked up. In the United States, in Colorado, and other places, there are types of insurance that you can buy so that when you're in these rural areas, if there has to be an evacuation, you're not paying for the cost out of pocket. A lot of times when people have to respond in a remote location, it gets very expensive. It is not the same as a ambulance driving to your neighborhood. Here it can be quite expensive in terms of helicopters and EMTs. So we've listed some of the types of insurance that you can get. Spot satellite text coverage is a very good one. It's very inexpensive and it's just on a yearly basis. But these are things you can have in place so that if it does come to being rescued, the cost is covered and it's not coming out of your pocket. All right, we've covered just about all of the items that we need to cover for this introduction as to why you need to take a course like this. Cost is an important factor, but simply being prepared for any eventuality in any environment is also important. So now that we've covered the preliminaries, we're going to leave you here and move on to the next lecture and start getting into the body of the course and the information that needs to be covered there.